Welcome back, everyone, to the 39 Days Podcast. I am Alex, and that is Andrew.
What's going on, everyone?
We are here just a few days before episode 3 of Survivor 43, and we're just going to be talking about the first two episodes, kind of previewing everything. You know, we have been busy the last couple of weeks, so we haven't been able to do like individual episode recaps, but overall, I think we're just gonna, just talk about what we've seen, what's happened so far, and what we think is gonna happen. Give our opinions and stuff. So, Andrew, let's start off with what we were just talking about, which is one of the biggest storylines so far has been, different advantages that have come in the game, and I think the biggest one that's happened so far was Cody's Beware advantage. So.
Yeah.
Let's
give absolutely. We knew that they were gonna bring in that again. I think they liked the spice of hey, this could potentially give you some kind of advantage, but if you don't execute on it, it can have deadly consequences. They certainly couldn't repeat the structure of season 41 and 42, where you had the special phrases that needed to be uttered by one person on each of the three tribes to unlock the shared immunity idol. I think that's what they were calling it. And I actually, off the top of my head, don't remember the specifics of the one that Cody fell into, other than the penalty for not executing was to lose your vote, and he somehow was able to muster his way out of that. He had to get a special bead from every player. They had it attached to their bags. Brilliant execution of him to build this hat and say he was going to decorate it, and was able to save his vote just before they went to tribal council, which could have completely upended the vote with Dwight already also on his tribe not having a vote. But I do like the idea of doing something different. I don't know. There may be some blowback in that it didn't have any lingering effects like in previous seasons. Although I also didn't love the fact that if someone, and that's the thing with the Beware advantage in 41 and 42, if people on other tribes didn't even find it, it wasn't even like they didn't know to say the phrase, or they didn't remember it, or they didn't have the balls to say it. They wouldn't have even found the advantage, and the person who did is stuck without a vote for 4 or 5 tribals, which is a tough spot to be in. But I do like the wrinkle of keeping it in the game and having it be different this year. Really forces the players to show off some cunning, and Cody was the perfect person to fall into that.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think the biggest difference between this season and the previous two is that all these players have seen 41 and 42. At least they might not have, but they've had the opportunity to, where the ones from last season hadn't seen 41. 41, obviously, nobody knew it was going to happen because it was, right after COVID. But yeah, I think it was a good idea to switch it up, obviously, because if they had done the phrases for a third consecutive season, everyone would have immediately known what was going on. It wouldn't have had any surprise aspect at all. There wouldn't have been any like, what is he talking about? Like the first 2 seasons, we saw people just kind of looking at whoever said the phrase like they were insane. And there was a little bit of, a comedic effect with that, and a little bit of confusion. Whereas this, it would have been immediately been like, idol. Okay, they got an idol. But with this, I liked the aspect of it being individual and it having to be something someone had to do all on their own.
Yeah, and just to be clear, Cody now has an idol, right?
I think he has an idol.
They didn't really show that, but like it's a Beware advantage. It's a Beware advantage. It's not a Beware, like it's not a break even or face negative consequences thing. They didn't actually show. Like, do the beads themselves have to be put on a string, and that's the immunity idol?
Yeah.
Or does he get something in his bag when they come back from tribal? Did he already have it when they went to tribal that night? Unless I missed it in the edit, like I don't think they showed any of that other than what he read when he first found it.
Well, and another thing that I'm curious about is that it said in the Beware advantage, like people can't know why you're getting these beads. Like, what happens if they find out?
Yeah.
Like you're already losing your vote. What is going to happen if they find out?
I think it just meant that you can't blatantly say, hey, I need your beads or else I can't vote, or I need your beads to get an idol. I think short of that, everything else is pretty fair game.
Yeah, because that's kind of exactly what Gabler did with getting his two tribal idol. He basically just told everyone, "Hey, I have an idol."
Yeah, but he actually got his idol because he went to whatever we're calling the island this year. It's no longer Shipwheel Island.
Yeah, yeah,
And
but still, it's just I don't know. I love so like we're saying the beads thing has its advantages and its disadvantages. I like it being an individual thing. It doesn't rely on everyone else, and that was I think one of the biggest turnoffs for the phrases thing is you didn't have a vote. You not having a vote didn't depend on you. You had no control over that. Where this, Cody had full control. It was all on him to execute.
right, and
And
obviously anyone he chose to tell could
mm,
help him
yeah,
in the
and I
execution, which was
love
half his
that.
tribe. But
And I love that they kind of put him on the spot for that. My problem with this was more in the editing of it, where they rushed the whole thing. They crammed this whole entire thing into like a 10-minute span.
and they made a whole point to make it seem like Noelle wasn't going to give it up because she really liked it. It was a memento to bring
and
home.
they definitely did that for the suspense, but it would have worked a lot better if they did
right,
that.
because we went in to tribal expecting Cody not to have a vote, and then Jeff said it's 2 votes. What was it? 2 votes Justine, 2 votes NECA, 1 vote
and then
left.
all of a sudden there's another vote.
It hits like 1 vote left. That means 5 people voted. So that means Cody did get it. And then of course when they show the edit, and that they've kind of fallen into that transition where they pull the rope-a-dope on you, then they kind of do a surprise reveal and then show you the aftermath of it after the fact. Very like Breaking Bad-esque. Like that's like a page out of Vince Gilligan's book, but
no, and I like that, and I like the idea, and they tried to do that, but it came across as like there wasn't any suspense because it went basically from Noelle is definitely not giving up her bead to them going to tribal and Cody immediately being like, I got everyone's beads. Like, okay, so Noelle just caved immediately.
We saw the hat, so in theory we could have seen that there was 5 separate beads on there, but
I don't know. It's another one of the thing. It's another one of them just kind of the producers just like experimenting, and I get it.
I love, and you have,
and I do too. But at some point, you got to just kind of stick with something and stop experimenting so much, and that's the one thing.
What are you gonna do? You're gonna do the same Beware Advantage as 41 42?
No, I'm not saying you do the same one. I'm just saying you kind of keep some things more consistent. You can switch up a Beware Advantage, but you don't make it as, completely different. You make it something like you have to say something to your tribe. It's not a wildly weird phrase. It's just you have to slip a.
Yeah, but then if you saying that, like, what happens? Do they have to respond with something? Do you have to get something out of it? Because you're just saying something. If it's just, hey, say something. If it endangers your game or not, if it's embarrassing or not, if it's like a truth or dare type thing, right?
Yeah.
And you get an idol for that, then it's a no-brainer. Everyone would do it. It's like, I insert embarrassing comment here. Oh, cool. Here's your idol. Like, for $1 million? Sure.
No, and I get that. I just think I wish they had kind of stuck more with kind of the ideas behind the first 2 instead of going direct, because they knew everyone had seen the first 2 seasons. So obviously they didn't want to repeat things, but they basically just took the same exact things as the first one and then just kind of changed it so that it would be consistent but not consistent. And I don't know where
you seem to kind of be like,
I'm kind of flip-flopping here.
It's a lot of oxymoronic here.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't like the up in the air aspect of that one, but at the same time of how they crammed that all into the last quarter of the episode.
Yeah, it's funny. I was actually looking at the clock, and you could always tell by the edit time how a tribal's going to go. Like if they go to tribal with 15 minutes left in the hour episode,
it's going to be wild.
Some stuff's going down. And I looked at it, and it was like 2 or 3 votes into actually they may have just been voting at that point, or they just finished voting. Jeff hadn't read the votes yet. And I said to myself, like, oh, how much time is left? Oh, it's I watched it the day after on Paramount Plus, but there was like 4 minutes left in the episode.
Mhm.
And you knew that wasn't enough time for a vote, a revote, go to rocks, whatever else. Like there was not enough drama to fit
Yeah.
in that window. So something had to it was either going to be a basic 2-1-1 or 3-1 vote. Expecting there to be 4 votes, obviously. And then of course Cody did get his vote back, and was it 3-2?
It was 3-1-1.
3-1. Okay.
Yeah, it was 1 for Neko, 1 for Cody, 3 for Justine.
Okay.
And yeah, no, that the editing time though, that's not something anyone can control. You know, like that's just something that comes with a show being set into one specific hour time slot. But there's ways around that, and I think the way that you suggested before, where they kind of make the suspense based on whether or not Jeff pulls the 4th vote, and it's not the final vote, there's a 5th one. That's when you pull the suspense card. You don't kind of point to it, just have like a neon sign saying Cody did the thing, look at his hat, while you're at tribal, and then all of a sudden they have this cutaway after the 5th vote being like, oh my god, he did it, look at this. Like, yeah, we knew that already. You kind of gave it all away. But yeah, I think we've destroyed that part of the episode.
Let's take, since we didn't really do a Survivor 43 premiere recap episode, we can back up in time a little bit. There's no hourglass twist this season, so let's put our own hourglass twist in a way. But look, I think there's a lot to be said about the cast this year, because we did our preview podcast, and we only went off the little bit of online research we did. We didn't like social media stalk these people, read articles about them in advance. So we just got the little snippet videos. But now that we've actually gotten to meet them a little bit, there's a lot of interesting stories at play. Of course, there's a lot of tragedy too. They love, and I hate that. I'm not going to say that they're exploiting people's tragedy, but it definitely makes for good entertainment.
No, I will say I get where you're saying. It's in the last 3 seasons, it seems like they pick people that have a good story that, is going to make for good entertainment. And that's, something they've kind of only done for these last 3 seasons. Like before this, they would just kind of, pick random people. And there would be, I just think of like seasons 35, 36, 37, 38. It was, people that had, different backgrounds and stuff, but they didn't focus on their stories.
Wow. And the numbers you gave, Adam did win Millennials versus Gen X. I don't want to say strictly.
That was season 30. No. That was season 33.
Is that long
I said
ago?
30. Yeah, I said 35 to 38.
All right. So maybe I thought you were more of a generalization there, but okay.
No,
I do get what you're saying.
More recent seasons, it just kind of focused on having a diverse group of people, which this season is definitely diverse. I'm not saying it's not, because this has to be one of the more diverse casts in Survivor history.
Yeah, it's just. See, I wonder if part of it's just the way they're editing it and how comfortable the cast is to opening up about their lives and certain things, right? Like everyone deals with loss, and everyone experiences loss. Everyone deals with it in a different way. Some people are more comfortable getting in front of a camera on a nationally televised reality TV show and just being open about the struggles of and other people aren't. Like there's other people who have lost family members, lost their jobs, had some traumatic experience, and just never mentioned it on the show. And I think that's both are totally are equally as understandable, right? But I just think about some of the stuff they've shown even this season, like with Noelle losing her leg, and Ellie's sister dying, and Cody's, his best friend dying. That's why he has the LIVIN tattoo on his bare ass. There's a few others, like a Gio talking about coming out to his parents.
Same with Carla too.
So right. So basically saying, like if you don't choose, which anytime you talk about someone's sexual identity, it's already you lose the argument right there when you talk about a choice. But like you say, if you don't choose to be straight, like you're not a part of this family. Like that was heartbreaking when he said
Oh,
that.
yeah.
That's messed up.
No, it's any story like I don't even want to call it a story because it's such a
His life, yeah.
it's life and it's awful. But yeah, it's a lot of the stuff to go off what you said. There's got to be some aspect of people willing to just kind of open up about their lives for when they're being casted, you know, like, and there's got to be a lot of groundwork that's done. So I give the producers a lot of credit for doing the background work because I just remember for when they were talking about Cody's friend dying, they went back and they like basically they had the guy's name up. He said, 1980 something to 2004 or whatever. They had an actual scene planned out for this instead of how if this was earlier seasons, it would just be him talking about it. They wouldn't have anything like that. So
I think you have the benefit too of the fact that these were recorded 5 or 6 months ago. So
yeah, but also all seasons were.
Yeah, I know, but a lot of this stuff is obviously done post. So
no, and that's what I'm saying.
Talk about someone, and
just,
then when they leave the island, you say, "Oh, so can you tell us more about this person that you talked about?
That's true.
Losing. Can you send us some photos we can work into the cut?"
Mm.
You got to figure out the magic of television, right?
Yeah, no, and I get that. I think there's a lot more like background info, like research that has gone into the last couple seasons, just based on the edits that they've done, having people's like photos from their childhood and stuff like that. And there's an upside and a downside to that. And upside is it makes for great television. It really helps you connect with the players.
Very compelling. It's very
it gives you people to root for. The downside is it just, I don't want to say it takes away from their actual gameplay, but it takes up time.
No, I know what you're saying. Essentially, you're implying that when you focus some of the episode on their personality, the audience, you kind of want to connect with who they are, not what they are. Well, and I don't mean what like their identity. I mean what like the kind of player they are on the island. Because ultimately it's still a game.
My thing is
their personality is part of it, but
my thing is that Jeff always talks about the show as one that it's everyone from all different backgrounds and cultures and from how different stories, how they grew up working together and being put out of their element, and you only base the entire game off of how they play in the game. You don't like where they come from, it doesn't matter. And then they're giving 10 minutes of screen time to exactly what they're saying doesn't matter.
Yeah, but part of it does, right? Like
no, part of it, and it does.
Player,
it's what makes these people what it is. But I think the focus on these people's backgrounds is kind of taking away from what Jeff has been saying, which is everyone can come together from different backgrounds and play the game. It's like, yes, but if you just kind of focus on everyone's different backgrounds, it takes away the fact. It takes it away. I don't know if that's making sense.
No, I get what you're saying.
Okay. But yeah, I don't know. I will say that through 2 episodes, both of our picks are still intact, which is something.
I did almost lose back to back though. Although luckily for me, they were later picks. Not that matters in as much as it not being my winner pick, but
yeah,
the way I'm kind of the perspective I'm trying to have this year is we each drafted 9 players.
Yeah, it's 9 each.
So if you have all 5 of your top 5 of your 9 make the merge, let's say, then you can almost like if you can kind of follow me, like a deal or no deal type skew, that kind of thing where like your number 1 player is the $1 million case and your last draft pick is the $1 case. So if you have the most money still in play, the value of your players are still.
It's like it means different to you where your first 3 picks were Janine, Gio, and Jesse. So if that's the final three, it has more value than if my final three picks of Lindsay, Cody, and Dwight make the final three. It's like you have more of our fantasy value just because your first three made it,
It's
as opposed to
weighted
my last
based
three.
on where you drafted them.
Exactly.
Right? Just because they're on your team, if
Mhm.
you took them as late as you did, clearly you devalued them relative to other people.
Yeah.
So the fact that they made it through, you just were lucky enough to take them late in the draft because no one else wanted them. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
And if we're going by deal or no deal metaphors here, my $500,000 pick got knocked off this past episode because I picked Justine 2 overall, or 4 overall second, and we said at the time that was a very risky pick. I took a risk with that. It did not pay off.
I didn't think she'd flame out as early as she did, and definitely there was some cunning. There's some good gameplay involved in getting her eliminated, but I did see her going out that way, not necessarily second or third.
No,
but I definitely saw that type of elimination where she just
yeah.
didn't really connect on her tribe. She probably would connect with another young female player, and that would kind of be the extent of her gameplay. And like maybe she had a brilliant gameplay had maybe they won immunity that challenge and she skated through and didn't have to face immunity. Tribal council until like 5th or 6th elimination, right? And maybe things change, but I don't know. And that was one where I kind of could read a book by its cover.
Mm-hmm. I was hoping that if she could make the merge, I feel like she's the type that could, based on how she was the first 2 episodes, she definitely is the type that could talk her way far into the game, I think.
You know who she reminded me a lot of, if you're going to go that route? Had she made the merge, she could have had a similar story arc to Tori from season 42.
Yeah, that's true.
Remember, Tori was on the outs the whole time.
The whole time, yeah.
And then got there and suddenly was a challenge beast, and then suddenly found herself on the bottom at the very beginning, but then was not necessarily at the top, but she was in the majority group for a few and lasted way longer than we expected her to. So,
well, she was in the crosshairs of her tribe in the first episode, just because she went off to, I forget even what it was. She wasn't looking for an idol. Maybe she was, but either way, it was like she was gone for like 5 minutes, and she
made a whole point of saying like you don't go looking for idols because then people, or even you don't go
she
for
did,
people think you're looking for idols.
She almost got voted out because of it.
Yeah.
So it's like she almost got knocked out for technically second, but almost.
Which would have been exactly like Justine. Second.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think right now our picks. You have Jesse, I have Ellie, and both of them. I think both of them are looking very interesting right now. Jesse played a big part in this past episode, and Ellie overall has a very tragic story, like you mentioned before, where her sister died. But at the same time, she's definitely living up to what I thought she would be she has a lot of potential strategy up her sleeve.
I love how she was talking about, was it Ellie? She's talking about the male tribe mates being like her children.
I think so, yeah.
So she's on
yellow.
Vessi? Is that Vessi?
Whatever yellow is.
Vessi's red, I think. Oh, Coco's blue. Yeah. So the yellow tribe has, I almost said Wu, has Owen, right?
Yeah.
Owen, Gabler, and who? Oh,
Sammy, yeah.
So it's funny, right? She said Sammy's like her firstborn.
Mm-hmm. And Owen's like her second. Owen's like her secondborn, yeah.
Sammy, even though he's 19, he told her when he's 22. But she said he's like the firstborn, the older one, because he's a little more independent. And Owen kind of needs the
attention of
the constant encouragement and whatnot, and kind of like a mama's boy type thing. It's I can see her playing that motherly role, even though she's fairly young herself.
And if she does, that's a very good way to at least last until the merge.
I think she's fairly physically capable in these challenges. She hasn't to be like do anything extravagant. We could talk about someone who has in a second, but I think Ellie's and I did. She's on my team, right? You picked her.
Yeah, both of them are on your team.
I very much wanted Ellie, just from the intro videos we saw. So,
Mhm.
but the same with the show. We've said it every single time. We could feel so good about someone. They could be gone on Wednesday in an eye
Yeah,
blind.
she could. They could do a double elimination on Wednesday, and Jesse and Ellie could be voted out.
Suck for me more than
Which I think one of the funniest things would be if that happened. Like they do a double elimination and both of our picks are voted out.
Please don't put that in the universe.
It would be so funny.
It would be fun. It would give us a lot to talk about.
It would, yeah.
But I'll tell you what, I am worried about Jesse because they showed a preview from next week's episode, and I think it was who else is on that tribe?
Cody, NECA, Noel, and Dwight.
It might be Noel because NECA and Cody are pretty tight with Jesse.
Mhm.
So it might have been Noel who basically said, like, oh, he's playing both sides.
Yeah.
And like if you can get away with it for a long time, and then you can have both sides feel like you're on their side and you're holding all the puppet strings, it's a great place to be.
Yeah.
But
Well, and
if
that's-
people catch on early, like if they catch on, you're dead. If they catch on early, it's a no-win scenario for him.
And that's the problem. I think Jesse's shown his cards as someone who can kind of play both
He
sides.
played a little too hard, too fast.
He played a little too hard, too fast, which could be, helpful. Or on the other hand, people could see that, and if they go to tribal next week, that's not good for him.
And he's super personal because of everything he's gone through. We talked about the tragedy, right? The fact that he doesn't have like a story of loss, but he
was in
outside LA in a game. Remember I said I didn't want to.
He's your like classic almost rags to riches story. Like he
Yeah.
was in a gang and had like tattoos on his face, and now
He was like so ashamed by them too, and talking about how much he wanted to fix his identity, his both visual and like the actual structure of who he is by getting 2 doctoral degrees.
Yeah.
And he still lives in North Carolina because he went to Duke, which is like say what you will about their basketball program and some of the people who go there, the school itself, like an education there, it means a lot.
Oh yeah. No, if you have a doctoral from Duke, like that's a big deal.
You're a pretty smart guy.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like that's such a heartwarming story to see someone like that. So, which now that we've seen him through 2 episodes, that type of story is why I'm a little iffy on your pick of him, because
Yeah, me too. I felt really good until I saw that preview episode. Like, wow, Jesse's very cunning, but not like in a snake malicious type
not
way.
in a Russell Hantz type of way,
just
more in like
a very personal, everyone trusts him. He can say, do whatever he wants. Not like in a he can push the envelope and get away with it type thing, but like he can go whatever direction he decides he wants to go and he commits to it. He has the people who will support him through that.
Yeah, it's almost
and until I saw that clip that it might come undone.
It's almost like a heroic Shan from season 41. Like he knows that he has everyone backing him. So if everyone else realizes that, it'll backfire on him. But until that happens,
they're all going to say, why are we all following this guy? Like we're inadvertently letting him lead us. He's not actively being a leader, but we're all following.
All it takes
why are we all following? What did he say?
All it takes is 2 people, like how Noel wanted to get rid of NECA after last episode. All it takes is her and NECA both going to Jesse.
Well, I think her and Dwight are going to team up now because Dwight is also playing the middle.
Yeah. Well, and Dwight also thought, I don't think Dwight knew that Cody got his vote back.
Right.
And which is the problem for Cody, at least.
And it's funny because Jesse's going to get the heat for turning that vote, but like NECA was going to vote for anyone else because she was the one getting votes. But Cody, they thought was going to vote for her too, and he voted for Justine. So it's almost unfair to look at Jesse voting out Justine and say, well, he's the one who choreographed the whole thing. I'm not
saying it was 100% him. I'm just saying.
No, I'm just saying that's the perception I got from how they're gonna perceive him. I don't think anyone watching at home thinks that, but I think in the moment, at least the way they edited it, that his tribe mates are gonna feel that way about him.
Yeah. I definitely think Noelle will.
Yeah.
I definitely think she'll at least try and she'll be confused because I think she voted for NECA.
Yeah.
So
She thought everyone else was.
yeah, which is, she'll definitely have words to say about that.
Yeah. So look, like I do want to, I did mention someone who is a total challenge beast this year, at least from the early looks of it. Not quite on the level of Jonathan from 42, but a very strong physical player on your team, Ryan, looks like an animal in these challenges.
Yeah. Well, and he's another one. He has mild cerebral palsy, I believe.
Yeah, he said he was born with that, right? And
he was born with it. The guy is yoked, first of all. And first of all, I forget. I'm now going to be going about these tribes, calling them blue, yellow, and red until, specified otherwise, because
blue is Coco.
Okay, sure. Whatever you say. Yeah, that tribe is so far looks stacked in terms of challenges. They've done nothing but dominate so far.
Yeah, the only tribe that hasn't gone to tribal council so far.
Yeah, and they look like they work well together, and there's not many flaws in their game. Like we saw last episode, the puzzle was the downfall of Red, whatever their name is.
Bessie.
And that's what killed them. So, and the majority of they struggled the majority of the challenge, but you really saw just how much they were struggling in the puzzle because they had maybe a third of it done when the other two tribes finished. So yellow, I think, is another one they actually finished first and won in the immunity challenge. They definitely have strength, but I think they have a few little flaws that
and look at Gabler, how much he was struggling.
Yeah, communication and
that was funny too.
Gabler's age is definitely going to be a factor.
And Ellie talking about how he doesn't know how to use the Hawaiian sling.
Yeah,
they're like, oh, what happens when there's like a giant blue ocean? What happens when you shoot the spear and it just floats away and you never get it?
Yeah.
Oh, just shoot into the sand. It's like,
I think I don't want to immediately stereotype him, but I think Gabler's going to have the kind of mentality of he said like 2 or 3 times, I'm like 20 or 30 years older than everyone else in my tribe. And so far, some people might view that as a disadvantage, which if you look at the last couple seasons, that has been. I think, at least my prediction for him is that he kind of views that as leverage, in that his wisdom, he can do whatever he wants. Because if you look at that, he was so steadfast on, I know how to use this thing. I've used them before. And now he's like, yeah, but not the Hawaiian sling. You don't know what you're doing. So I don't know if that'll be completely his downfall, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, we can roll out power rankings in maybe a week or two.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe after episode 4 might be a good time.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
If he continues on the trajectory he's on, even if he's still around, I can't see him rising up that high on the list. Now he has an immunity idol that's good for one more tribal.
One more tribal.
He's obviously going to play it on himself, so he won't be. At least he shouldn't be. I guess in theory he could will it to someone else or use it on someone else. But you would think, in all likelihood, everyone knows he has it. He has to use it at that tribal. He's safe. Now, if they keep winning, that tribal may not happen for another few weeks. But the next time they go to tribal, or he goes, if there's a tribe swap.
Yeah, he's definitely going to tribal at some point, and for at least that tribal, he's going to be safe. It's just a matter of whether or not he actually plays it or not.
Which I think, now that I said tribe swap, when was the last time there was
40 winners at war? There wasn't a tribe swap.
They didn't do 141 or
42.
42. Okay, that's what I thought. That might be an interesting wrinkle because I
would love if they
do it all
that.
the time, and I liked a season where they kind of kept everyone intact. Now they were benefited by the fact that there wasn't 3 tribes of 6 people, and one tribe got decimated to like 2 people right out the gate.
Yeah.
Then you have to do a swap to level the numbers. But so I liked seeing the dynamic of keeping everyone together the whole time. But just the tribe swaps open up so much gameplay, and it completely changes the post merge game too, because it allows you to play with people who weren't on your original tribe, and you get to know them. And now you have 3 or 4 people from your original tribe who are still in the game, and 2 or 3 people who you bonded with on another tribe. And now you have a group of 6 or 7 or 8, whatever it is at the merge, and you're in great shape.
I think one of the things with tribe swaps though is that you cannot have too many. It's like there's a thing of too, like less is more. Like we've seen seasons that have had like 3 different tribe swaps before the merge, and that just gets chaotic. You don't get to see who's lined with who, and it doesn't work. And we've also seen
too many. I think any more than one is too many.
Yeah, and we've also seen
do
ones
it
where
one time and commit to it.
They swap like the 3rd episode. It's like the 2 tribals in and they're swapped. And that also I don't think works because you don't get the chance to bond with people. Especially if you get immediately stuck. If say they do a tribe swap next week, okay? And it's
next week would be too soon, but I get what you're saying, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Say after not this one, but the week after. So there's 15 people. They do 3 tribes of 5. I don't think people would have had the chance to make strong enough connections with each other that there would be anything to go on other than tribal lines.
And I think that's kind of the point, though, which sounds counterintuitive. But
yeah, but I hated seeing vote outs where someone was voted out after a tribe swap solely because they weren't on, like they didn't have the numbers after the tribe swap. They had no control over that, and there was nothing they could do.
Yeah, no, I do get that. That sucks for sure.
Yeah.
What I was getting at is that it forces you not to rely on like, well, I already have a bond with these 3 people, so I'm just going to ride out us 4 ride or dies the whole time, right? Like you have to. It really pushes you to pivot and adjust. Now, when it's those imbalance of numbers is really where you have a valid point, and that can't be undermined because if you get on a tribe of 5, let's say you reduce from 6, 6, and 4. Well, that what numbers doesn't work. 6, 5, and 4, right? It's 6, 5, and 4 to 5, 5, 5, right?
Yeah.
And you're on a tribe of 5 with 4 other people who are on one tribe, and you're by yourself. Like the odds of that,
there's no, you don't have a chance. Yeah.
Toast.
And I don't know. I think if they were to do a tribe swap with having 3 tribes immediately, I think the move would be to go from 3 tribes to 2. So that it's
what I thought they were going to do in 42.
Yeah, so that it's a more diverse group of people from 3 different tribes. So say they do it on Wednesday. There's 16 people left. They do 2 tribes of 8. That means you're going to have like 3, 3, and 2 from every tribe. And
more likely you're going to get 4, 3, and 1 or something like that.
But you know what I mean. Yeah. There's a good chance of having more diversity, so there's more of a suspense aspect of who's going to vote out, and there's more gameplay that's going to actually be involved instead of, all right, so this person, we don't know who they are, easy vote.
Yeah, which is why I like the idea of a tribe swap, but I agree that it has its right place. And usually it's when there's a severe imbalance in total number of tribes on one tribe versus the others, or you've eliminated already at least a third of the cast.
Yeah.
And then you really say like, hey, look, 26-day season.
It's almost
10
like
days in right now. We're gonna rip the rug out.
They do the tribe swap, have a tribal or 2, and then merge. Something like that. You don't want to do it this early. And they haven't done one in a while, so this season would be perfect. Like,
well, it makes sense for why they haven't. Like you said, the fact that they have 3 tribes of 6, it's a very limited size.
Oh yeah. No, I'm saying like you mentioned, like if there was a decimation of one tribe, which is what we saw in 41 with whatever tribe Shannon Ricard were on, it was just them at the end. But I don't think they merged just because, or I don't think they did the combination or the tribe swap just because of COVID. I don't think they wanted everyone being swapped around so much. They were just trying to be careful. And, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they just didn't want to do that, but that's just kind of what I thought. But now, we're 2.5 years into COVID being existent in the world. I think they're much more lenient on just things like that. So I think,
Yeah, unless there's logistics with a lot of staff being involved in those tribe swaps, I think that's where I kind of perceived it differently. Not that either your perception or mine is right and the other one's wrong, but I don't think COVID had anything to do with a limit to tribe swaps, simply because they're all already on the island. They're already, for the most part, in isolation. They did 2 weeks of intake or more, right? Where they quarantined, took testing, all that stuff. So once you're out there, you're fine. And if you're with the 5 people here or you move to a different group of people, everyone's safe. So that was my perception of it. But I think it's more about gameplay and that they wanted to try something different. Like they completely ripped the rug out, right? They said last season, or excuse me, 41. So last year, 1 full year ago, drop the 4, keep the 1. And that became the model of the season because it's season 41, but it felt like a brand new show.
Season 1. And it definitely has felt like a brand new show because, you think back to season 40 was Winners at War. And I didn't watch that one live. I watched that one, at some point during lockdown. But I remember watching that one and just thinking, this is Survivor with a few little twists and stuff with a bunch of, old players. Whereas now it feels completely different. Like this gameplay compared to Winners at War with the Edge of Extinction stuff, it doesn't compare because even though Winners at War had things like Edge of Extinction, fire tokens, you still had idols, it still had a lot of stuff going on. This one has a lot of stuff going on, but it just has a different feel to it,
Yeah.
But I think this coming episode is going to be one that it's going to be an important one because if you look at it right now, there's 2 tribes that are down 1, and then Blue has its full 6. So I think after this week, it's either going to be even at 5-5-5 or there's going to be 1 tribe with 4 people. And if we've seen anything, it's that the tribes that have like lower amounts of people going into the merge, either those people get picked off or those people are viewed as assets.
Yeah, it's almost weird. Like in 41 and 42, having an early deficit almost galvanized the tribes, right? Like you had season 41, you had Ricard and Shan
just running the show immediately.
They had the people skills to immediately, because right, you're swing votes in the middle, right? You had 2 tribes that were going at each other, and you guys were caught in limbo, and you could decide the fate however you wanted. As opposed to season 42, when you had, I forget the name of the yellow tribe, the one with Jonathan and Marianne on it. They went down early, and then they just didn't lose challenges. They just started with the Jets.
And then they made it they basically made it all the way to the end.
I think those 4 made it at least to the final 6. Maybe
I think
5.
so.
So it is weird how that it worked out that way. Now, it's not always a motivating factor. Sometimes you lose because you're just collectively the weaker group of people. You're just functional and you fall apart. We've seen that plenty of times too. Like look at Survivor Philippines with Denise. Like she went to every single tribal council. The fact that she won is a credit to her individual gameplay, but the tribes she was on were all disastrous.
Yeah, exactly.
So it didn't help them, right? The people who were on her original tribe didn't suddenly figure their gameplay out. They just
sucked.
They went away. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I get what you're saying, in that it is a pivotal episode in the show. I think every time you take like, what is it, like every 20 or 25% into an elimination in terms of like the total starting cast, right? So you start with 20 people, every fourth or fifth elimination ends up being a big one in terms of what it does to the numbers. I'm sure there's a whole study behind that you could get into. But yeah, if you get even if you get to 654 though after this week, I think more importantly than the numbers though is the actual conflicts.
Yeah.
The way if there's any big moves, any new. I don't think they teased any big surprises or any twists or anything like that, but there's so much more that we've seen than just the numbers, right? Like in the past, like seasons, the first 10, if you went down a couple number of episode, a couple number of players, immediately you're just like at a disadvantage, and it felt like you were up against it.
Mhm.
Whereas now it's so much more than just how many people on your tribe. It's all the underlying factors.
Yeah, exactly. No, I definitely agree. But yeah, I don't think I have any more to say about this. We've, like I said, we have been busy the last couple weeks or so. So we just wanted to get a full on like recap of everything. But do you have anything else?
Well, look, let's just end this real quick, just so we have something good to go out on.
Okay.
Let's do like a temperature of your original draft team.
Okay.
We've each lost one person, so we both have 8 people left. Kind of like a who's hot, who's not style thing. So I want you to give me one person who's maybe like an internal power rankings thing. I kind of like one person who you drafted who you're feeling really good about, and one person who you're concerned about. Now,
Okay.
for me, I guess I'll go first. And person I'm not feeling great about, we already said at the beginning of the show, Jesse's my winner pick.
Yeah.
Looks like he's playing a really good game. Will I teased a little bit that he may be in some hot water, and it may be nothing. It may just be like a red herring, but I'm not feeling great about that. And the person who I am actually feeling pretty good about is Ellie.
Mm-hmm.
For all the reasons we talked about. I know that's kind of boring because we already spent time in the episode talking about them, but it was like very clear that those are the emotions I felt after watching the first 2 episodes. So that's where I'm at. Now I know some of the players on your team we haven't, just by proximity, haven't spoken about as much, but I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, so especially in this last episode, a lot of players on my team just you have, what is it? Oh, you have 3 from Red. I also have 3 from Red, but like my last 2 picks were both Cody and Dwight. So I think outside of those 2 and Noel, mine really has not gotten that much screen time. So I'll go with someone I'm feeling pretty good about is Noel, because I think she's not on the outside, but she kind of is to the point where she has control. And what I mean by that is she was not involved in the vote from last week at all. She did, because she wanted NECA to go. She did not want Justine out. But she's now in a position where nobody was thinking, let's vote out Noel, even though she sat out the immunity challenge. So I think she's in a position now where if she does have to scramble, she definitely can do that and, come out on top.
It's interesting. I kind of figured you'd go Carla.
Carla, I am high on her, but not to the point where I am like overly high, just because she really was not apparent at all in the last episode.
That's true. Not the first, but I think she made a good play in the premiere when they went to the Go Take an Adventure Island. Mm-hmm. Someone said something on Twitter that I forgot to bookmark. It was a fun name. Something about like the Big Rock or something that was there. But essentially, she made the one smart play and didn't risk her vote.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, at this point, no advantages matter. Your lifeblood, your vote is your lifeblood, or something along those lines. And I was like this girl's a gamer. And I said it to you. Remember when I first, we didn't even see the videos. We just had the pictures of the tribes. And I was like, oh, Carla,
future winner.
And that's just where I thought you were going with that.
Mm-hmm. And then someone I'm not high on right now is Cody. Nothing personal by that at all either. I think he's a weirdo, but he makes great television. The reason I'm not high on him right now is because he has put so much of a spotlight on himself. His tribe knows exactly who he is. And there's a reason that he was under the spot. He was under the, he was in everyone's crosshairs this past episode. He got a vote. And he has an idol now, which is good, but I think that's not going to help him. Dwight knows he has an idol, or that Dwight knows he has the beware advantage. I don't know if he shared that it's an idol in the process, but at the same time, Cody also didn't share with Dwight that he got the beads. So Dwight's not going to trust him now.
It's true.
And I think everyone's just going to be very wary of what Cody does, because after that vote of getting Justine out, they're going to realize, maybe he's actually kind of playing the game and not just being this crazy 30-something-year-old guy that just wants to be living all the time,
Yeah, I think Cody's someone who could really benefit from a tribe swap.
Yes.
Just because I feel like he has such an infectious, happy-go-lucky attitude that before it starts rubbing his current tribe the wrong way, he can pivot somewhere else and find new friends there.
Yeah, if he
can weasel his way to the merge, now he's got like 8 friends.
If he can pull off if they do a tribe swap within the next few episodes, right before his tribe starts targeting him, yeah, that was a yawn.
You can edit that out.
Nah, it's fine. That's funny. I think if he, like you said, he meets some new people, he, kind of draws them in with his personality, and all of a sudden he has ties with everyone. He really needs to meet a lot more people in this. What?
No, sorry. Your hands are floating.
Oh yeah, because of the green screen.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he has potential, but right now I think he's in a bit of a tough spot just because of how this last episode ended.
Yeah, I can see that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, look, I think it's a good spot to wrap up. Kind of a lot in a double episode, a episode 1 and 2 recap / episode 3 preview, but hopefully we'll be back here probably by the weekend, right?
Mm-hmm.
With our 3rd episode of the season. And look, if there's nothing else, you good, Alex?
I'm good.
Perfect. Well, we'll catch you everyone next week, and thanks for tuning in.